really do. I think that's, that's the enemy, and what he tries to get you alone, tries to
Yeah.
get you kind of secluded away from everybody, not talking to anybody,
Yeah.
and here just go wild. So
Yeah.
I love that. I've also struggled with depression. Um, and it is nothing to be played with. It
It's
is
not.
it is not. It is
Yeah.
not. It is not for the weak. I'll say
Yeah.
that. It is literally a fight.
Oh,
And it's a
it's a
fight.
battle, man. It's a people don't understand, like, we think automatically that, and especially like when you're an overworker, and what I've seen with you, for as much as I've kind of interacted with you on social media, you are an overworker at times.
I
And
am.
a lot of us, like, when we're overworkers, and then we hit this spurt and we're like, I don't feel like doing nothing. I don't feel like doing nothing. And then we'll beat ourselves up to be like, man, you being lazy. You being lazy right now. Why are you being so freaking lazy? Not understanding that the reason why we don't feel like doing something is because we're battling depression. Your mind is at war, literally. And then you got to get up and try to coach your body into doing something. Like, it's hard. It's
It is
hard. So
hard.
we have to give ourselves a level of grace, from the standpoint of, and that's easier said than done, because I'm like, I'm even tired of hearing that. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Like, yo, shut up. Like, I'm trying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Like, but understanding, like, hey, it's okay that if today, after I do X, Y, and Z, I'm shutting it down.
Yeah. I'm getting better. I feel like so June has been a little crazy because I'm relocating. But I definitely think I'm getting better. I didn't realize I lost my I think I've shared this with you. I lost my sister when I was 11,
Mm-hmm.
almost 12 years old, and she died in my arms. Never had counseling, never had anything. And looking back again, like the days that I didn't want to go to school, the days I didn't want to get out of bed, like that was literally me battling depression and not knowing what it was or why I felt that way. It's like, oh, I don't feel good. It'd just be like, no, I don't feel good. I want to stay home. But it was literally depression. And that went throughout my life. I mean, I learned the one thing that, and I love my parents because I think they gave me the best thing that they could. They didn't know anything else to give me. And my mom had lost, at that time, two children. I had an older sister and a younger sister who
Wow.
passed away. So she gave me what she was given. Like, she just didn't, you know what I mean? She didn't know. She felt like she was going to pray for me. But I remember those struggles. I remember those struggles throughout work days, not being able to get out of bed and being like, I'm gonna just call out because I don't feel good, but not having what that was. I'm like, I don't know why I have those lows like that. And it wasn't actually what kind of brought me into even wanting to go back to school for therapy was like when I realized what it was, I could identify that my dad had struggled with the same thing. Like, I remember watching and seeing him probably for, totally different reasons, but, and maybe, maybe not, they had lost two children who knows what was going on up here and what he was struggling with. But I think, that taught me, like, you have to take breaks. So I make myself take breaks sometimes, even when I don't want to, because I feel like, that not doing something for me is it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. It is hard.
Like I've been preaching this and preaching this and preaching this for years. And, we, a lot of times we use the scripture, faith without works is dead,
Mm.
to, accommodate a toxic work, mental health relationship.
Mm.
So we'll say, like, oh, well, I got to be working because, like, I got faith, but I got to be working. 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 Not understanding that for a lot of us as overworkers, doing nothing is the work.
That
It's
is.
work to do nothing. Like, you got to literally sit on your hands, tell yourself, I'm not, no, we're not doing this today. No, we're going to trust God in this process. No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to allow God to be God, because what we tend to do is they'd be like, oh, I'm trusting God, but then put our hands in and keep trying to work it and keep trying to figure it out. And God's saying, are you trusting me, or are you trusting your ability? And so what we do is that we have a horrible um mental health work relationship. And then when things play and plague on our mental health and things weigh on us, we resort to work. Oh, I'm gonna go get busy doing something. I promise you, every time I was challenged, every time I experienced heartbreak, every time I um would end a relationship with somebody, or whatever the case is, I would throw myself into work. Anytime somebody broke my heart, I would throw myself into work. I remember I was in a relationship, and she hurt me bad. And it was like, after that, she was like, you don't talk to me anymore. Like, are we still in this? I'm like, yeah, we still together. But I was throwing myself so far into work, I wouldn't trust the relationship anymore. And
Mm.
she was like, oh, well, since you don't have time for me, I think it's just best. Like, months later, she was like, since you don't have time for me, I think it's just best that we just go our separate ways. I was like, yeah, probably so. I just, but because I just threw myself into work, and I realized that, oh, you have a horrible relationship with your mental health and work. You would
Yeah.
throw yourself into, and then what ends up happening is that you will mask you being busy for, I no longer feel it because I'm super busy, so therefore I'm healed.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, you lying to yourself. You're not healed. You're just busy.
You're just
And you're
busy.
Yeah. And that's the reason why, like, I didn't, like, I tell people, man, like, my stepfather passed away in 2018 from uh kidney failure. My dad 2 months after him with a car wreck. And then 6 months after my dad, my oldest brother, cancer, lung cancer. And that was all that was 2018, in the beginning of, in the first part, or the second quarter of 2019. I did not, and I preached all of their funerals, paid for all of their funerals, did all that stuff. I did not, I did not grieve until April of 2020. That's when I started the grieving process, because I masked it with going to get money, taking speaking engagements. I accepted any speaking engagement that came across my desk. Wasn't praying about it, just accepting them.
Mm.
Just was doing. And
Yeah.
when the pandemic hit, that's when I had to sit with those emotions of, now I can no longer work. I can no longer work the way I used to work. Like, and I was desperately trying to find stuff to do. Like, I was desperately like, let me just do this. Let me do this. Let me do this. And not realizing, like, yo, like, sometimes that faith without works, the work is the work of doing nothing.
I love that. I love that because I felt attacked just a little bit, just a little bit. I know. I mean, it's just confirmation, but I can say the same thing. Like my dad's. First of all, me and death have a different relationship just because I've experienced it, when I was younger. So I almost have this, like, I won't say that death doesn't affect me because it's not that, but like when death is happening or happens, I am the person that does everything. I did everything. When my dad got sick, taking him to chemo, taking him to radiation, calling all the doctors, got everything, all the list of everything. I'm the spokesperson for him. And when he passed away, it was like, do the funeral, got the repast, write his obituary. It was so much. And then my parents had a very traditional, marriage. My mom, for the most part, was a mom, at home mother. She had odd jobs during our life, but for the most part, that's who she is. She's everybody's mother, including mine. So um, I felt the weight of responsibility to be what he was to her,
Yeah.
and that I think my dad died in 2016. I don't think it really hit me until probably like the end of 2018 going into 2019 when I lost my job was like real. It was a real reminder that my dad wasn't here. Like I was really like, okay, now, okay, I don't know what's going on. And it was the worst in the sense of, I think prior to my dad's death, his death was different. And maybe because, like what we talked about earlier, it was like watching myself die, that it brought up all of the loss that I had had. And it, like, when I say it hit me like a truck,
Yeah.
and what I had done to cope working, because I was looking like successful. I had all the great jobs. I was consulting, flying here, flying, like everything outside looked great, but I was literally dying inside. So it was a, and what I had done, I used to give myself a time limit. Like, you got this amount of time to get it together, and then you got to go back to work. The kids need what they need. I need to get back to everything. You have to get it together, and I could not get it together. And that probably was the scariest place that I had ever been, because I'm always the person that everybody else comes to, that everybody else depends on. And it was like, I was like, I need help. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, when you are that person, you prize yourself on, it's what I call, like, when I was leading my church, and I would tell people, you have to have a QRT, which is a quick recovery time. And
Hmm.
that came with, we were talking about offense. But I think that a lot of times people embody that when it comes to everything. It's about how fast we recover. That shows our level of strength, right? It's like,
Mm.
oh, well, I'm strong because, that bothered me for a moment, but I
I
bounce
do
back.
know.
And it's like, like, well, that could be toxic, because some stuff you need to sit with and feel. Some stuff you need to allow yourself to feel.
Yeah,
You really do. And
yeah.
not put a time frame on your healing and how long it's going to take you. But when you are the go-to for everything with your because
Mhm.
I'm that way too. I told myself, like, even when it came to my fathers, when it came to my brother, I was like, oh, I'm only gonna grieve for a little while, I gotta get back at it. And I preached all of their funerals, but you know that following Sunday, I was back in my pulpit preaching. I didn't take Sunday. Like, we were in the midst of trying to close on our building, trying to get a building. And I felt that, well, hey, if I'm not here leading the people,
Mm.
the money's going to dip, and I gotta be there. We got to raise this money, which we ended up raising the money. But I tell people, like, that was at no, like, yeah, I raised the money, but at what cost? At what cost?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because at some point, you know, asking yourself, okay, being there for everybody else, but then losing myself in at what cost?
At what cost?
At what cost?
That's
Like,
what
because
I tell my boys all the time. Oh, it's gonna cost you something. It
it's
might
gonna
not
cost
be
you.
money, but it's gonna cost you something.
It's
You
gonna
better
cost
believe that.
something. You have to start asking things. I did a reel on this. I need to refilm it with my new camera, but because I still haven't posted it. I did a reel on this where I said, no matter the situation, before you go into any new adventure, any new relationship, any new friendship, whatever, you need to start weighing the cost.
Mm.
Like, what is this going to cost me?
Come on and talk about it.
Like really, what is this going to cost me? Because
Yeah.
relationships cost you, friendships cost you, like, and you have to decide, do I have enough? Do I have enough to take care of this, or is this going to leave me in debt? What is this going to cost me? And a lot of times, like, we overlook it because it's like, oh, well, no, it ain't gonna cost me nothing. No, it's gonna cost you. It's gonna
It's
cost you
gonna
money.
cost you something.
It's gonna cost you something.
Yeah, it is gonna cost you something. I wish we did a better job in choosing people.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a thing. It's a thing in my life. I
yeah.
don't think it's a thing in general. It's like we are too old to just be connecting with just anybody. And people are just like, I'm friendly to everybody. Don't get me wrong. I love
Mhm.
people, but everybody can't come home. What your mother used to tell you when you were young. Everybody
Yeah.
can't come home.
Everybody can't come home.
Everybody can't come home.
You
All of
can't
the
bring, you can't bring everybody with you.
exactly. And when we learn that and really vet people, you know what I mean, from a healthy place. And vetting is not a bad thing. You vet before you invest in people. And I'm never mad at, meeting new people and being like, I had a conversation with my business partner and she's just like, we all have this thing like, oh, they should know I'm okay. I'm like, they don't know you. Like, they don't know you. I said, you have the assumption that they know you like I would know you. They don't know you.
Yeah.
So give people go at your own pace and learn people and giving them the opportunity. That's all that's going to teach you who people are, is being around them, interacting with them, seeing them in certain and different situations. And it's okay to vet people. I'm always I know that the thing in the culture of like what you bring to the table, but I know how valuable I am as a person. And I have no, like, people are like, is that, ego talk? I said, no, I know what people get when they get me.
Yeah.
And that is a precious thing. I even teach my kids with who they choose as friends. I'm like, what do people get? That's my question. What do people get when they get you? And once
Yeah.
you're clear on what people get that actually get you, like, yeah, you are more selective with who you choose, because
Yeah.
valuable people, you can't replace them like that.
Yeah. You can't.
You
You can't.
might put somebody in a spot, but you can't replace. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
You can't. And and here's a, and here's another principle I really want people to understand, that a lot of times people are telling us like, hey, be humble, be humble, be humble, be humble, be humble. The Bible says be humble before the Lord. And I think a lot
yeah,
of times people want us to be humble before them as to make them feel better about what they have not accomplished yet or what they have not done yet. And so when you come to the table with self-awareness and self-worth and knowing who you are and knowing what you bring, it can come across as arrogant to someone that has not figured that out yet. And then we have
mm,
to understand, like, hey, I'm not in competition with you just because I have identified with where I am. There was a season where I didn't know who I was.
mm,
So I'm not in competition with you. I sympathize with you. But if you're around me long enough, you could probably pick up what I learned and begin to identify with who you are as well. And it was a
amen.
journey. It wasn't easy and it's still hard. And here's the catch. We're all still trying to figure it out as we go. And we're still learning, and we're still learning ourselves, and we're still learning what we're capable of. But I refuse to downplay me to accommodate you because you refuse to step into a new space.
Yeah,
Because if I do that, then I am discrediting everything that God has brought me through and what God has done in my life. Because, like, we can, like, if we testified about everything that God did, then we'd be like, oh, you testifying. Yeah, you preaching, you preaching, you preaching. But if we say, yeah, like, I endured that, and because I endured that, I'm a better person, or I endured that because, and it made me this way, then it's not, it's like almost like we're bragging. But if I just talk about God, it's like, oh, that's a testimony. But understanding, like, we can come to a place of self-awareness and knowing who we are, and come to the table knowing who we are, and it shouldn't be listed as arrogant, because it's
yeah.
not.
Jesus wasn't arrogant, and he told you
No,
all the time. He told you all the time who he was.
exactly.
All the time.
All the
All the time. So I mean, I don't get, I'm just like, no, I agree with you 100%. Like, I always tell people, you don't know the cost of where I am. Like,
man.
it cost me tears and suffering and loss, and just, you have no idea. So where I am is not by incident or accident, and I know my value. There was so many times that I didn't, but I know my value. And everybody can't sit at the table.
No,
Everybody can't sit at the
no.
table.
And I think that comes with learning you. And I think that a lot of times, man, people people will love you remaining in a place of you not knowing who you are.
Whew.
They love it.
Yeah, because they benefit from it.
Yes. They
Yeah.
they they benefit from it. They can continue to, parade it like, like, oh, like, and it means something to them that you don't know who you are. But here's the thing. They know who you are. They know,
Yep.
like every enemy that Every enemy that faced Jesus knew who Jesus was. The
Mm-hmm.
people that was walking with him did not, but
Mm.
every enemy knew who he was. And
That's a
and
whole word.
yeah, I think that we need to understand that every enemy that Jesus encountered knew exactly who he was. Your enemies know your potential and know what you can do and know the gravitas of your gift. It's the people walking with you that do not know. And it's the
Mm.
people benefiting from your gift that do not know, because they allow familiarity to breed contempt. So, oh, I see you doing these things. I see you being creative. I see you producing. I see you being strong. I see you doing these things. Oh, that's just normal for you. That's just what you do. But even the enemy, every time the enemy would approach Jesus, we saw that they identified with his power. They knew
Mm.
his power. They knew what he was capable of. They knew what he could do. And then while the people walking with him was questioning what he could do.
Mm.
So
Wow.
just because they're your enemy doesn't mean that they don't know your power.
Mm.
They know your power. And that's probably why they are your enemy, because they know your power. They don't like it. And we have to come to the realization that there is so much more in us. If the enemy's fighting us this hard, there's so much more in us that we are to go after and achieve and to see. But we would discredit our own selves based upon the experiences that we've had in the past.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of us like wrapping our mind around, you know, like who we are.
Yeah. How do you think we get there? That
Ooh,
you really get comfortable with who you are? It's taken me a long time, so I would love to hear your
man,
perspectives.
man, I'm still one of the things like my one of my previous leaders would always tell me was he would say I have to continue to teach Adrian Davis that Adrian Davis is Adrian Davis. And I would be like, what are
Mm.
you talking about? That's stupid. Like, what does that mean? He was like, you just don't know who you are yet. And I would be like, man, like what, like what? Like he was like, you don't know the pool of who you are and what you're called to do, the magnitude of your gift.
Wow.
You don't know it yet. I remember one time this when everybody started putting up, preaching clips of themselves. I've had the privilege to watch Instagram transition and become whatever it is today, and
Hmm.
it's transition. But when everybody started putting up preaching clips, and I was like, well, I'm gonna put up a preaching clip one day, and my team had took this clip and I had sent it to Brandon Clack. I had sent it to him. I was like, man, no, I played it to him. He was in the car with me, and I played it. And then I was like, man, I was gonna put this up last week, but I didn't put it up. And then I played it for him. He was like, man, this is so rich. He was like, why didn't you put this up? And I was like, man, I don't know. He says, I'm convinced Adrian Davis hates Adrian Davis.
Mm.
And I was like, what? He was like, I've never seen somebody be so great, but afraid to let the world see it. He was like, man, like you just gotta come to the grips, bro. Like you gotta come to grips that, yo, like I can do this.
Yeah.
My voice matters.
Yeah.
I got wisdom.
Mm.
And he was like, and you'll overlook it because you're just so familiar with it. Like, no, bro, no, that ain't normal.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, I'm still trying to embrace that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but I do think that God hides us from our own abilities to keep us at a place of humility before him, that we
Yeah.
do not get arrogant in our own gift, because we consistently through us looking at ourselves as, well, I don't know, it consistently puts us at a place of addressing God and needing God and seeking God. But if
Mm.
we got to a place where we were like, yo, I'm good, I'm this because of my own power, my own might, then what it does, it allows us to rely on ourselves.
Mm.
So
You
I think
almost
it's
had me in tears. Almost. Almost. No, what you said about your leader, what he
Yeah.
was saying to you. So my pastor, who I lost actually a year before I lost my dad, who was like a spiritual dad to me,
Mm.
he would say the not the craziest things to me because now they make more sense.
Yeah, man.
But I remember being in MIT and he would be like, "You don't even know who you are. You have no idea who you are." And I used to be like, "What are you talking about? Like what?" Like, and those things play back in my head so much, especially these days. Like you really don't know who you are. I feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more comfortable. I think in this season of
Slightly.
life,
Yeah.
slightly. I feel like I'm getting it, but I feel like I still don't know the full. I don't think we will ever. I feel like it'll always be a journey to becoming. Like we're always growing, we're constantly growing. So I don't know if I'll ever get to the I've arrived place. I don't think I'll ever get there like, oh, I got it. Because I feel like every time I get to like, okay, it's this, then it'd
Yeah.
be like that. I'll be like, I'm not I'm comfortable with this though. How we get that? But
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I also know that you have like a journal for men.
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
do. I do. Actually, like I keep one right here because I do a lot of like when I'm sitting in my office. Let me see if my camera will focus in on it. There you go. Uh,
There it is.
yeah,
The
journal for
journal of a grown ass man.
grown ass man. But um, and I'm in the process. I'm doing one now for young boys. So we're rewording it and repackaging it. But it has over 90 affirmations in it, and then it asks about those things. You know, I'm forgiven, and so like just
Yeah.
I am forgiven, and it gives a definition to it. It says to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or a mistake. And it says, what emotion do you identify with when you read this affirmation and why? Then it's another question after it gives you some lines to answer that. It says, what do I need to do, change to live in this affirmation? Then it has a moment of gratitude. Then on this other page, it says today's thoughts, plans, dreams, and goals. And then, you know, it allows you to write all that stuff. So for me, because journaling is a hard thing for a lot of men, because again, when we're talking about, you know, just us feeling comfortable in sharing our emotions. Um, but journaling has been hard because it's like, well, what starts that thought? You know, where does that thought come from, and what starts that thought? And you know, and so what I tried to do with this journal is to affirm our men and then pull answers out of them. Majority of us, we will answer your question, but we probably won't volunteer information.
Mm.
That's a gem.
Help the mothers, help the women with that. Because how do we navigate that? If it's like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you
Yeah.
answer the question,
Yeah.
but there's other stuff going on and we're not aware,
Yeah.
or is the thought process from the male perspective that the woman should know, or she should know him well enough to, so
No.
where do you go at that point? Like, why is
Yeah.
it not being communicated or
Yeah.
volunteered?
A lot of times, and I give y'all a little cheat code for the men in your life. Here's a cheat code. A cheat code is, for one, whenever he does talk, whenever he does share, whenever he does open up, that you do not use that information as ammunition later.
Mm.
The moment a woman does that, majority of men, and I say majority because I only can speak for the majority of men, the which that I know, and I'm a man, but I don't say all men because I do not know all men.
Okay.
But majority of men, we tend to, if any information is used against us later on in the argument as ammunition that we shared in moments of vulnerability, of honesty, then we have deemed you not to be a safe space.
Mm.
We will still stay with you. We'll still have sex with you. We'll still deal with you. We'll still date you, but you're not safe for us anymore.
So do you communicate at that point to the woman like, hey, you shouldn't have done that? And like, because
At,
people, go
yeah,
ahead.
at no, no, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did want to answer that part right there.
Mhm.
At times, some men will communicate that, like you like, yo, you shouldn't have done that, but a lot of men won't
Mhm.
because they won't even share how much it hurt them for you to say that, because in that moment of sharing that, that's giving another layer of information that you just used. You just used information against me. So
Mhm.
now, to give you another layer of information to say that this really hurt me, I'm going to act like it didn't hurt me, because if you know the magnitude that it did hurt me, if you are that vindictive, you'll use it again, and you'll use
Mhm.
it again, and you'll use it again. And you'll talk about the fact that, hey, you weak, or you this, or you this, or whatever the case is. And I tell people, I hate talk, like, it's quite a few people that try to push me to talk about relationships so much. And I tell people all the time I don't like talking about relationships, but they be like, man, you have so much information. Because I'd be like, yo, like if I had it together and I had it all right, I'd be married, I'd be doing this and I'd be doing this. And God had to really kind of change my perspective on that, and saying, like, you're not flawed because you're not married, is how you look at it.
Yeah.
And
I was about
and
to say,
so
because I'm definitely not flawed. I was about to say,
well, let me say this. I am flawed, but
I
I'm not.
mean,
But
yes.
I'm not flawed beyond being loved.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
that that's the concept that we need to understand,
Yeah.
is if we can leave it, like leave that thought of dropping that thought down to say, just because I'm flawed does not mean I'm not worthy of being loved. You are
Yeah.
worthy of being loved. Just because you're flawed, it does not mean you're not worthy of being loved.
So my pastor who's no longer here used to say something to me, and I'm gonna say it to you. The area that the enemy fights you the most, and I don't know if that's the love area for you, is normally where there's the blessing in that. So just something for you to pray
Man,
on, and I mean it. Again,
let me say something.
one of them things he used to always tell me, that the area that you know you
That's
get.
but that is the absolute truth, and that's a
Mhm,
gem. That is
mhm,
a flat out gem that he shared with you, because I would tell, like, I remember I was being interviewed. Our church was growing like crazy in Alabama, and they interviewed us as being like one of the fastest growing churches in Huntsville, or what they listed as the fastest growing church in Huntsville. And we was,
mhm.
jumping by leaps and bounds, and it was going great. And the lady asked me, she said, "What do you love?" No, she said, "What do you hate most?" She said, "I'm gonna ask you a question. What do you hate most about pastoring? What do you love most about pastoring?" And I said, "What I hate most is people. Also, what I love most is the people, because the enemy attacks you at the point of your love."
Mhm.
Like, and so whatever because if I did not love it, it would not bother me. So, it's that same concept that your pastor was sharing with you. And that's, man, that's so true. And I receive that, because I do believe, like, when that time comes, like, yo, like, I'm gonna be an amazing husband.
Yeah.
And a, a part of that is because I I took my time, and I didn't rush into, and I didn't buy into, oh, it's a certain time, or because I was pastoring a church, I needed to be, or, what
Married.
I'm saying? Like, I
Mhm.
just didn't buy into that.
I
And
get it.
so I know so many
I'm a drink on that.
pastors that are cheating on their wives, ain't are not even just cheating, just disgruntled, hated,
Yeah.
angry, mad, preaching from a place of anger and frustration because they feel like they married the wrong person. They want a divorce and blah blah blah. So it's like, well, dang, like, because for a while I felt like anybody that was married was better than me.
Mm.
Like, oh, like they married, they better than me.
Mm. I
But it was
wonder
my own.
where that comes from. So I don't think I ever had the better than
Oh, I
me.
felt that way.
But I definitely, again, we're not gonna say my age, but I'm a woman of a certain age, and
You act like you so old. I ain't fooling with you.
we'll talk about that off camera. But for the people that know. But I remember if you would have, if you would have asked me, I thought I would be married, at 20 something with the picket fence and just, I came from a 2-parent household. Who you have children with is who you're supposed to be with. I mean, I was like, stuck on that. So once I got to a certain age, I was just like, is this ever really going to happen for me?
Yeah,
Now, listen, if there's one prayer I pray, I'll be like, thank you, God. I can't shout, but like, no, because I feel like even the version of me that I am today, like nobody in my past, and not that they weren't good people, like some of them are good people, but I just I can't even see it. I wouldn't even be where we wouldn't be having this conversation. Like yeah, no. So if I would have, if back then me choosing, I just feel like, whew, it was going to be a disaster. And I'm not saying that, when I do choose, because I think for women too, I know for myself, I was always like, I want to be chosen, not that I get
yeah,
to choose back. It was
yeah,
just like whoever, not whoever, but you know what I mean? The person is going to ask and you just accept. It wasn't like, oh, I choose you too. Like I do see you leading me. And even what I look at as like, what would be a good husband, like that is totally different now. So
yeah,
I'm grateful because I know a lot of people in church and out of church who they've been together for a long time and that's a clap up, but they are miserable.
yeah,
And I was like, I don't want that. I mean, marriage is ministry. So I am kind of like the Boaz and Ruth thing. I know everybody uses that, but I think I have a different perspective slightly of just like, he owned the field. So he was doing whatever he needed to do. Right. And she came to work. So she already was equipped and ready
she
to work,
ready.
ready to work, and he saw her in her working. So that's why I'm probably a little bit busy, but we're gonna talk about that another time. But just focused on that. But as it relates to love, I finally feel like I am ready for love. I feel like I put that on the back for a long time. Like, um, and I know it will happen. I'm patient enough I waited this long.
Yeah.
So it has to be right.
Yeah, like for me, it's just I think a lot of times we talk about women having a certain standard, and it's like if
This
a
culture
woman,
standard.
yeah, culture standard, yeah. And it's like if a woman is waiting or she's not getting married, then it's some people will say, oh, she might be crazy, she might be crazy. Then, but then there's another side that says, oh yeah, like she just didn't encounter some trash dudes, and ain't no good men out here, and blah 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 blah. But then usually like when a man is waiting, it's like by culture, it's like, oh, he just wants to be out here and be a hoe. Um,
Yeah.
or, you know, um, uh, or he just don't want to settle down or whatever the case is. It's never, oh, okay, this woman has a standard and she's not compromising that. And this man has a standard and he's not compromising that.
Yeah.
And I think that we have a way in which that we want our lives to look, and whether that is through our own decision or through the revelation of God and what God has shown us and what God showed us a glimpse of,
Yeah.
and us holding on to that and saying that I'm not going to compromise what God showed me for
Mm.
the sake of just company.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Yeah. I'm about to pass the collection plate. That's no, I'm so serious. I definitely don't think it's about the waiting part. I think it's how you wait. And I
Yep.
think it's beauty in how you wait and what you do in the wait. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I don't know that everybody is, in that space. I do think there's a maturity level and not in age, because there's some old fools.
Man, listen.
Yeah. Woo.
Listen. Because I'm
Listen.
I like oftentimes I tell people, uh, I tell people this, that, we think that age and maturity shows up together, and sometimes they show up alone.
Yeah.
Somebody, you know, and someone can be of a certain age and still operate as a child because of there is a such thing, and it's very real, and you know this from counseling, but it's real. It's a arrested development. I got something happened to me at a certain age, and I stopped my growth in that particular area there. So it could
Yep.
be, I could have grown in so many other areas, like I went to seminary. I grew in Bible knowledge. I grew in revelation of God. But if I didn't heal from a previous relationship, and that relationship happened at 25, I could be arrested development in the area of relationships at 25. It doesn't mean that I can't grow in other areas. And it doesn't mean that you can't be, great in other areas. And I think that we have to understand that people can be great and still have flaw. People can be people can, go out and change the world and still have a proclivity or issue.
Yeah.
And, if Paul lived now in this culture, they would have counseled Paul a long time ago. He would have never wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, because we would have counseled him when he was killing Christians.
I was
You
about
see
to
what I'm
say.
saying? So, so, so redemption is a process, but understanding that it takes a person to say, "Hey, I want to grow." And there are a
Yeah.
lot of people that are at a certain age just saying, "Yo, like, oh, I'm just this age," and but they're not growing anymore
Yeah.
because they just are choosing to be arrested in that particular age.
Yeah. And I think people get stuck. You hear a lot like, this is just how I am. And I'm
Yeah,
just like, okay, but how you are is not healthy. How you are is not, the place that you want to stay. So how do you change that? Because
yeah,
so often we talk about, the fruit of what we see, but we don't ever get to that root of like, but why are you like that?
we never do.
Mm-mm.
We never do.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where we're like legit saying, well, this is, almost where we keep making an excuse for it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, and we say things like, "This how I am, take it or leave it. Don't nobody want to love me for who I am." No, well, here's the thing: you probably don't even love you for who you are, because it's
Mm-mm.
not who you are; it's who you became. It's who you
That.
it's who you adapted to
Yeah.
becoming. And I get it, but it's so important. The kickback from this past Sunday, I did it as a YouTube premiere,
Mm-hmm.
but I was talking about guarding your heart, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things. Like, the enemy is like, "Yo, if I can't get you on my side, I get you to change who you are." Like, if I can't get you, I'm just gonna get you to change who you are. So when God sends people to your life
Mm.
to be attracted to who you are, they don't get you, they get who you have become.
Ooh.
And so excuse me. So what typically happens is that God will send us people that are going to love the authentic version of ourselves. But because the enemy said, "Yo, if I can't get you on my side, I get you to change who you are." Now, when people come into our lives to love us and our authentic selves, they don't get us. They get a representation of who we have become. So it's not who
Mm.
we are, it's who we chose to become, based upon hurt, based upon traumatic events, based upon people damaging us, based upon people dropping us, people hurting us, whatever the case is. So when people are like, "Well, love me for who I am," love me or leave me alone, that type of situation. And that sounds cute, and that's very cliche to say.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have modified yourself in any type of way, you don't even love who you are. You've become hard because of life experiences or life things, and you've calloused your heart. So now you aren't even able to receive people that want to love you for you being authentically you. And so when God sends the people that are going to love you for you, they don't get you. They get your representative. They get
Yeah.
the person that you've become. They get the person that has been hurt. So who now at our adult ages, who now is willing to have the courage to love like they've never been hurt, trust like they've never been backstabbed, like those type of situations. And we say, well, that's the point of living, and you gain wisdom. Yeah, you gain wisdom about how to guard your heart, who has access to it, but you don't change it.
Yeah.
You
That's
don't
so
change your heart.
good.
You
That
don't
is so, so good.
you
Like,
don't change you don't change
mm,
your heart. You just change who has access to it. That's where the wisdom is applied.
yeah. Putting up, not putting up walls, but putting up gates of who can come
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. That just blessed me. It confirmed the conversation I just had with somebody about that. I'm like, I get that. I think we use that so often where it's like, oh, well, I had that experience. So this experience looks like that experience. And I agree with you. You have to be, I mean, love's a risk.
Yep.
It's a risk. And people who love you hurt you sometimes. You know what I mean?
They
It's
do.
like,
They do. And here's the thing. We live in this world of I don't want to be hurt. If you live in that space, let me just say this. Let me let me let me just say this how I feel it. We live in a world of I don't want to be hurt. 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 But also at the same time, if you don't want to be hurt, you don't want to be loved. If you don't want to be hurt, you're never going to love anybody. You're never going to take the chance of loving somebody.
mm-mm.
And because love is a risk.
Yeah.
And here's the caveat. Everybody we love is going to hurt us because everybody's not going to do everything that we want them to. It's about did they intend? Was it intentional? Was it purposeful? Did they purposely set out to hurt us? Because
Mm-hmm.
everybody that we claim that we love, or everybody that claims that they love us, it's at some point they're gonna hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to hurt. It is with the intention. And this is how I view it. Like, think about it. If I stacked 50 chairs on top of each other, and
Mm-hmm.
I said, Deborah, I said, I want you to climb to the top of these 50 chairs. And you climbed to the top and you stood there. And then I grabbed the legs of the bottom chair. This is what love is. It is the vulnerability to stand and to be somewhere where you
Mm-hmm.
know that you could fall. And then trusting the person that they have access to make you fall, but you know that they won't do it on purpose.
Mm.
That you trust me enough to hold the legs of that chair, but no, purposely, I won't pull these legs from up underneath you and make you fall and hurt yourself. But I have the capability to.
Mm.
But you trust me enough that I'm not purposely going to do it.
Yeah.
That's what love is. It's like you have the capability to hurt me, but I trust that you won't purposely do it. Now, it may come a time where I will fall, but guess what? I trust you to get back up again because I know you didn't purposely do it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that is the concept that we have to live with and begin to kind of understand a little bit more as time goes forward. They're like, yo, like I'm gonna trust somebody enough that I'm gonna let them hold the legs of this chair.
Yeah. I like that. I might use that. I'm gonna put your name on it though. I'm gonna put your name on it. I don't know if I can say it as good, but I'm gonna use that. So
Yeah.
what's next for you? What do you feel like is next for you
Um,
in life, in love, in
man.
ministry, in
Oh, that's
creation, and acting, and podcasting? Like, what do you see next?
well, a few things. Man. So right now, my biggest thing right now, my baby right now is the documentary. I'm this Brilliant Boy documentary, and we filmed 80 black boys, taking them out of the country to Europe, and took them to Spain,
Mm.
well, to Madrid, Paris, and London. And so we documented the whole process. And so we have a few meetings set up with some major networks about getting this on air. And so that's what I'm doing. And so working to raise this money for editing and doing all of this stuff, I'm like 70K into the project now, and of my own money. So now, like, looking at investors and looking at producers to help come alongside and push this thing further has been a thing. And so that's my thing from the entertainment side. I'm still auditioning for roles and stuff like that, but a lot of stuff is on hold because of the writer strike. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of opportunities and a lot of gigs aren't happening right now. So it's allowed me to focus so much more in on the documentary. Ministry wise, we're taking the Bible study kickbacks to another level. We are having an in-person element for the Bible study kickback starting in July. So we found a
All right.
location. Yeah, we found a location
Okay.
for the
When I'm in
in-person.
Cali, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
come through.
yeah. So we're making it a thing. Like we're gonna make it like eventually, like once we raise some capital and stuff like that, we're gonna have it to where it's gonna be food every single Sunday,
I love it.
every other Sunday when we have them, and then we're also going to serve and feed the homeless as well. So I do that now. Like I go feed the homeless once a week, um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a particular area in which that I go. But I want the kickback community to help partner with that, and then we feed the homeless. And so for ministry, it's the kickbacks and then feeding the homeless, and acting side still auditioning, but then the entertainment side definitely the documentary podcast. And I just want to be more consistent with it. I have a podcast that I've been holding on to. It's actually up, but it's only the intro song that's up there. But I have a podcast name that I reserved. So I have my
Okay.
Commas podcast, but there's another podcast that I've been holding near and dear to my heart that I'm like, am I gonna really do it or
Okay.
not? But yeah, so that may be rolling out in the next few months. But it, hopefully being a thing, and really,
Okay.
really doing that. So those are my things that I'm working on right now, outside
Okay.
of just trying to survive LA. That's
Listen, Cali is a beautiful place, but it is a nice, expensive, interesting
Cali is
one
a
too.
beast. It
Yeah.
is a beast. I tell people all the time, Cali is a beast. But
Listen.
but I
Oh, you
love it.
mentioned you mentioned having a journal for young men as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm launching that in the next few months. Um, the challenging part about being a creative and doing all these things is like I was having this talk with God the other day, and I said, God, when I was a millionaire, I didn't have as many visions as I do now and as many ideas as I do now. And I said, you wait till I done lost everything to start giving me visions. And why in the world did you not do this when I had it?
Mm,
And God told me, he says, when you had the money, he said, I didn't give you all of these things because it wouldn't rely on you to trust me. He said, so now I had to take you through the strip, and I had to strip you away from everything because me personally as a man, I found my identity and stuff.
yeah.
And he said, so I had to strip you from all of that. He said, but I had to still give you vision and insight because vision allows you to have hope. He said, so I didn't want to rob you of hope. So I kept giving you vision after vision after vision. He said, then you have to trust me to provide for that particular vision,
Mm,
to know that I am the supplier of every need. And I got
so
to a
good.
point 2 weeks ago. I've been praying this very dangerous prayer. And I told God in my prayer time, I said, if you are the supplier of all of my needs, that means that if you don't supply it, I don't need it. And that's a dangerous prayer.
That's a good prayer. That is a good prayer. That's
Like,
it.
like if you don't supply it, I must don't need
Yep.
it.
My pastor always says that if you don't have it, you don't need it. You think you need it, but you
You
don't
think
need
you
it.
do.
And I'm a testament to that. I literally I closed on my house May 22nd. I have
Let's go.
from May 2nd to the 22nd. I I can't even explain what happened. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, like when God has something for you, he will almost makes me cry. I cried all of May because I was just like, this is just unbelievable. Like I just can't even, it seemed unreal. I was like, all you gotta say is I want it and that's it. And just let him just watch him work. I mean,
Listen,
yeah, we don't have to put our
listen.
hands on it. And I think as you would call it, overworkers, or I call myself sometimes a control freak. I'm used to having my hands in there and um not fully trusting God. And it's funny, I always say my middle name is Faith, and sometimes I question like, God, why how you give me of all names
All
you want to
names.
give me?
All names.
Out of all names you could give me, that's the one you're gonna give me in the middle. But I love that, because I think in this season, this is the most I've ever trusted God. Like I almost literally almost lost my job because I was moving to Georgia and I work from home. The irony in
Mm,
that. But the enemy will show up and he will ride anybody's back that is
you hear
available.
me? You
And
hear me?
I
Anybody.
that's what I'm saying. That's why that prayer is a dangerous prayer. Because when they were like, "Well, they might not sign off on it," I said, "God, if you want me to quit, let me know, because I know you told me to go to Georgia, and I'm going. I'm going. So we go. We got to figure this out. But I know I know what you said. I'm clear. I'm clear on that." And
Yeah.
I really think, of course, everything worked out, but I really think God is just, I don't even want to say testing us, but he's just like, how much do you trust me in this? So,
Let me tell
yeah,
you.
yeah. So that's a good prayer.
Woo.
There's, what is that in Matthew where it says, I think it's the Message version where it says, at the end of the rope, there's less of you and there's more of God and his rule.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's it.
So just trying to consistently embody that, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it ain't
Yeah.
easy.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for what's ahead of you. I'm gonna need two of those journals for both of my sons. I'm really trying. My older son journals way more. My younger son, not so much. But I'm really trying to get them to journal a little bit more. I'm trying to get
Yeah.
them to therapy. They think they say, "Ma, you my therapist," so I'm not your therapist. I'm your mother. But yeah, my older son is definitely he's getting there.
Yeah.
His younger brother is coming along, so I would love to have that for them. But I just want to thank you for coming by, spending some
Listen,
time with me.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's an extreme honor. As soon as I get the boys' journals done, I'm gonna
yeah.
let you know.
And I
Uh,
have a book for you. Hold on,
okay.
I got a book for you. Hold on. There was something you said in the episode earlier, and I want to the elimination of hurry. By John
The elimination of hurrying.
The ruthless elimination of hurry. It's a
Okay.
short book. I'm a of course audiobook that we just heard come on. I think it's probably like 4 or 5 hours. It's 5 hours and 20 minutes. It's so rich. It changed what we're talking about, kind of like resting. It it changed how I move. It gives you so many jewels of it's by John Mark Comer. A really, really, really good book. I think everybody should read it. That's always my suggestion. Everybody could, especially in the times that we live in now.
Yeah.
And you're in LA, so it's even more hurry, but how to find solitude in this crazy world.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be so crazy, and with people who are overworkers and always shaking and moving. So
Yeah. You just get caught up in it. And it's
yeah,
so easy to do. It's so easy to get caught in it.
yeah, it is. It
It's so
is.
easy to get caught in it.
Yeah, it is. So thank you for coming out. I appreciate
No,
you. We
thank
got to
you.
do this. Look, we got to do this again sometimes. I
Yeah.
really, truly enjoyed that. Of course, always taking gems from you, always trying to sit in. I would love to know when you guys start doing things in person in Cali. My sister lives in La Jolla now. So
Okay.
um,
Well,
once I
it's
get, look, once I get settled in Georgia and moved out of Jersey, I definitely, plan to visit her, often. And yeah, so
Yeah, more
I would
like
love to feed the homeless. I would love to be a part. Yeah. So
July 9th is our first one. July
yeah.
9th. Uh,
Aw, so are you still going to stream it for other people who
yeah,
have already? Okay. Now,
yeah,
before we leave, give the people where everybody can find you, all that stuff, even though it's going to be in the show notes and all that good stuff.
yeah, yeah, for sure. They can. I'm Adrian Davis now on everything. So Adrian Davis now. Everybody asks me like, what is the now? Like, so like when people read it, they be like, Adrian Davis Snow. Is that your name? Like Davy Snow. I was like, no, it's Adrian Davis now. And the concept behind that is that I'm such a creative, and I feel like God has created me to be a comma. So I'm so much more than just one thing. So it's always, oh, what is Adrian Davis doing
For
now?
now.
What is he doing now? And 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 it's always and also because I have that battle with regret, I'm always trying to live in the now and not think about the past because that throws you into
Mm-hmm.
regret, and then thinking so much about the future because that throws you into anxiety. So all we have is the now.
Is the now.
Yeah.
Okay, now community.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's Adrian Davis Now on everything. So on Instagram, Adrian Davis Now, TikTok, Adrian Davis Now. The website is currently we're going through like a revamp. So it's Adrian Davis Now. It was AdrianDavisNow.com. I think now it's AdrianDavisNow.live.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think it's that live.
yeah, yeah. And so AdrianDavisNow.live. And so that'll be up within the next couple of days. It'll be back up. So by the time the show comes, it'll be there. But yeah, just Adrian Davis Now, man, on just all platforms. And, we just gonna keep trying to have more courage than we do fear, and keep creating this content.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, until next time, we
Yeah.
are going to holler at you later.
I appreciate it.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
All right.
All right.
Bye.